All right, we're gonna wait a couple of seconds and then we're gonna start it off. Actually, all right, I think we're gonna go. Just waiting for the gram. Awesome. All right, we're gonna start it off. All right, welcome once again to another live. It is Tuesday, July 15th, and today's goal is I'm basically gonna teach you guys my process for making engaging short form content that hits quickly, delivers value, and it looks polished. Um, I'm going to show you exactly what my formula is. I'm going to edit a short video straight from scratch, and I'm going to show you how I think the hook, the structure, and the pacing, and get it ready to upload for Reels, which is like Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube Shorts. All right. And it doesn't matter whether you shoot in a phone or a camera, an actual DSLR camera or mirrorless, whatever. This is the editing flow. It's going to save you time, and it's also going to help your video stand out a bit more. All right. Yes, I know you guys noticed the new mic setup. So I was noting a couple of every time I hit the desk, because I had it on the stand before. Every time I would hit the desk, you'd hear this pop in the recording. So I just decided to do it this way, and it looks a little bit better. It looks a little bit cleaner. Cool. Moving along. We steady moving along. All right, cool. So we're gonna start it off. As you guys can see on the screen, here's how I structure my reel and how I edit for speed, clarity, and retention. So just those three things. And it's also something else that you might think that your content is not really that interesting, or I'm just gonna post this. I don't want to put too much into it. There is a formula to it that's going to make your video stand out even just a little bit more. And I'm not saying it's going to go super viral, but it is going to beat that regular average base. All right, so take a look at my timeline right here. All right, let me make sure that everything's working up to par. It looks pretty good. Okay, so I started off with this cut right here, and you can see on the right side of the screen that it's actually a vertical layout, because we're doing reels, so it's vertical, right? But I'm taking it from a recording that's horizontal, so one of my lives, as you can see. And what most people tend to do is they grab their favorite part, right? Their favorite part of the video, and they just start it right there. And what they don't realize is that, yes, it's your favorite part, but there has to be a hook in order to stop people from scrolling. Or even not even to stop them from scrolling. Doesn't have to be like a crazy shock, but you at least have to show them what they're about to watch, right? And that has to be the hook. And we look at time like this, linear, but sometimes the hook is not necessarily the beginning part, right? Especially for what you're trying to um, post, or the message that you're trying to convey. So we're gonna start it right here, and I'm gonna show you. You can see it all right here. I don't have too many sound effects on this one, but I just have the basic audio one, which is everything that was um, talked about in the interview. And then the second one is just kind of like a baseline background effect. Not effect, I'm sorry, sound. And then right here, between one and two, I have I had two. All right, right. So you're listening to it go on. Cool, right? I mean, that's what I want to show. I want to show the how it, like, the message of the reel is going to be how a timeline looks, and how I laid it out and organized it, so that way if I had any client revisions, it would just be kind of like a quick fix, and then that's it. And I didn't have to start over or invest another 2-3 hours for that, right? And again, what I try to do here is look for the relevant line. So if I just started with what I liked, it would just start out like this. You can see it all right here. I don't have too many sound effects on this one, but I just have the big. I know what I want to convey, but it just doesn't start off like that. So there's a line in here where, as I looked through the whole thing, and this is pretty much that section that I want to use for the reel, and it's pretty long, so I'm not going to use all of it. And hold on, let me scroll through it. Make sure I got it here. Low light, and then here we go. Actually extend it just a bit longer. Don't worry about my timeline. It's all good. So I have right here kind of like a cut. So you could actually see, don't look at that one yet. So this one right here is this turned into a reel. Now there's a bunch of cuts and all that, and I'll show you exactly what I did. But I really wanted to show you what I started out with. So yes, I want to convey that message of that clip right there. And this is what instead of starting it like this, you can see it all right here. I'm going to start it like this. This is the timeline that got me through like 3 or 4 rounds of client changes, and I never had to start over. Boom. Right there, you already know exactly what's going to happen. So I'm going to do it again. This is the timeline that got me through like 3 or 4 rounds of client changes, and I never had to start over. So this is the timeline that got me through 3 or 4 client edit changes, and I never had to start over. Boom. Right there. You already know what I'm going to talk about. And if you find any value in that, you're obviously going to keep watching. You're like, wait a minute, I want to see that. I have a couple, if you're my audience and you're like, hey, I have a couple of clients that give me a bunch of revisions and I don't want to start over. So boom, that's what I started with, right? And you'll look at a couple of, I'll just give you kind of like a rough view. But yeah, that's all the different cuts. And I obviously organize it and I cut it up differently so that way it's actually good for vertical. So I just made 3 different tracks of the same copy, and then each one I made it a little bit different, right? So one from the top, which is me, the camera, the one in the middle, I'm showing you what's going on. A lot of gamers will do that as well. They'll do it a little bit differently, but it's kind of the same thing. And the bottom, I just usually put my logo in there, and the bottom is just that third blurry part is just basically a copy of that second part in the middle of this part right here, and it's just blown up, and I put like a blur on it, so it just, you see some movement, but it doesn't really catch your attention too much, and I could put my logo on there, and it's not, distracting it too much. So I'm gonna say it again. Just because you like it doesn't mean everybody else is gonna like it. So don't start with your best moment, right? Start with what makes people stop, what you think is gonna really make them be like, wait a minute, I want to see what this video is all about. So it may not necessarily be in that your favorite part. It may be a little bit ahead, so just make sure you look for that, and that's what you want to put in the front. So, it's like, oh, but it's not in the beginning. It's like, okay, but you can make that in the beginning, if that makes any sense. All right, cool. So I'm going to start trimming this one, and I'm going to show you exactly how I do it. And I'm just going to do a couple of trims, nothing too crazy. I'm just going to cut the pauses, the stutters. And I'm not going to use any music here because I like to use the music in the app. So I'm not going to worry about like cutting to the rhythm or like a music video or something like that. So I'm just going to show you that real quick. So we're going to start right here. You can see it all right here. And you could almost see like the sound waves. Like nothing's happening there. So I'm going to cut that immediately, right? It's like, wait a minute. So I'm going to keep going. You can see it all right here. Right there, we don't want that so we're going to cut that. All right, we're going to use the verbal edit tool. I don't have too many sound effects on this one, but right there. I don't have too many sound effects on that one. Cool, so we're going to bring that, trim it right there. So now all right here. I don't have too many sound effects on this one, but I just have, okay, so that but, take that out. Start right there, boom, and then I just have started right there. So I'm gonna ripple edit tool, my favorite tool of all time. This one, I just have the basic audio 1, which is everything that was, okay, so audio 1, and then that little pause, cut that, which is everything that was talked about in the interview. See right there. See, I did that so we're gonna cut that, boom, and then we're gonna go again, and thing that was I hate that, man. I want to cut that real time from my speech. Talked about in the interview. See, I made a couple of noises and then talked about in the interview. So go ahead and ripple edit delete tool. Boom. Put that in there. So now, look at that. We just have this. You can see it all right here. I don't have too many sound effects on this one. I just have the basic audio one, which is everything that was talked about in the interview. And then the second one is just kind of like a baseline background effect. Boom. All right, now we know. So I'm going to cut that one, and I'll just leave that for right now. And then we'll just kind of keep going, all right? And then the second one is just kind of like a, the second one's kind of like a, I'm going to cut that. And then ripple edit. It's kind of like a baseline background, and I say so effect, not effect. I'm sorry, sound. And then see, so I made a mistake. Real-time speech. I meant to say effect, so I'm gonna just use the effect, not effect. I'm sorry, sound. I'm sorry, the sound. Effect. I'm sorry. Okay, sound. So boom. If you've never seen the longer video, you'll never know that I did that. And background sound, and okay, wait, that looks a little bit too much. Just take it easy. Not effect. I'm sorry, sound. I'm sorry. Sound starts right there. Ripple edit. Background sound, and then see even that little space sound, and then I did that like waiting to exhale. Sound. Cut that, boom, right there, and then ripple edit, boom, cut that right here. Whoa, sound, and then right here, between 1 and 2, geez, right? So, and then right here, and then I'm just gonna put and then skip all that right here. Cut to right here, so I don't even have to highlight it, and then right here, and then right here, between 1 and 2, right there, ripple edit, boom. So now let's look at that. Look at all those cuts right there. See? So it's all a matter of, and also looking at the sound, at the waves kind of really helps out. So that's why you see me like zoom in and then zoom out, zoom in to really kind of see that. And before you know, like that didn't even take me that long. What is that? Who's doing the time check? It wasn't a lot, but it's still, pretty dope that if you just keep going, you could take all that out. So let's just see what it sounds like real quick. Oops, wrong one. You can see it all right here. I don't have too many sound effects on this one. I just have the basic audio one, which is everything that was talked about in the interview. And then the second one is just kind of like a baseline background sound. And so we've taken almost, I would say, a good 5 minutes of just ahs and ums and like filler words that you're trying to the pauses and the stutters, and even just me kind of like going back in the speech and kind of correcting myself. You cut all that out. So just remember, and that's part of that pacing, and especially with social media where the attention span is so low and everything just needs to be quick. You need to cut all that fluff, trim all that extra fat, and that's the pacing, right? So we cover the hook in the beginning and then the pacing in the middle of it to get the message, right? So pacing, it really isn't speed. Pacing is rhythm. So it's not about going fast. It's just more about the rhythm of the story, right? Because at the end of the day, you're telling a story. Just cut what you don't need. Simple as that. Trim the fat. All right, cool. So now, if I trimmed all this is exactly what it would sound like. So I have this all ready for you guys, ready to go. And this is basically it right here. So take a look at the vertical. This is the timeline that got me through like 3 or 4 rounds of client changes, and I never had to start over. Between 1 and 2, I had 2 different cameras. So it's A cam track 1 and then B cam track 2, and then the A roll LUT on the video track 3. B roll LUT on number 5, and all the B roll is on 4. So you can see the adjustment layers there. They're all color coded. One of them's like red, the bottom was like rose, and you could also see the markers right there on the top, green and the reds, and that's where I marked mostly where the B roll was going to be at. That's what it would look like when it's all completed. Simple as that. It's just me trimming all the fat. It's just the pacing of the story. Got the hook in the beginning, I talked about what I'm talking about in the reel, and I cut out anything extra, anything unnecessary, and now you're getting the story hit after hit, and also the jump cuts kind of help. I wouldn't normally give a client a video like this. That's, let's say that it's not a reel, like an actual video. I would try to hide the jump cuts, but this is for social media. It's perfectly fine. It actually keep the attention on it as much as possible. All right, cool. So now what we're gonna do is we got all this going. This is the timeline that got me through like 3 or 4 rounds of. What's the only thing that's missing here that would go well in social media? And you could add these within the platforms. I know you could do it on TikTok, and they have a bunch of different animations for it. You could do it on Instagram. You could do it on you could do it on YouTube Shorts, and that one has a bunch of different options for it as well. But for Instagram, I think it has a few options, so you're not as flexible in throwing it in there. But what I'm talking about is the captions, right? So, you know, if they, for some reason, as soon as you press the video, some videos don't even have sound, but people still want to watch it, but they start seeing the captions on there, they could still watch the video and follow along, right? And also, you want to kind of watch that as you're watching the video. You see the captions, you kind of reading along and get the clearer message and understand everything that the person is saying, especially what I'm saying, right? So what I would do, and this is Premiere Pro, right? I would mark an in and out point here, and I'd go to the window, which is window tab right here, and then you'll see all the different tabs that you can open up: audio clip mixer, audio meters, effect controls, all that. The ones that are checked off are the ones that we have on the panel, and there's one over here called text, and the text one is actually up here, and this is what it will look like. And right now I have it transcribed, but right off the top, it will tell you something like so. So let me give me a second. I have a bunch of them there. Let me actually open up a different sequence, and I'll just make a sample one right now. I'll just call it. Let me call it sample 3, just to be organized. And you go to text, and it's no dialogue found. All right, let me just copy this guy right here, and I'll put it over here. Sample. And this is what will pop up. So it senses the dialogue, and you go to transcript, and it'll tell you transcribe, right? And it'll transcribe everything that it's saying on that clip, and it'll come up with its own thing. So you don't really have to do much. And actually, let me just make it real quick. Let's go to captions, right? And we're gonna create captions from transcript. It's basically the same thing. And that's what it's going to give you, the options of what you want to do. And this is what I like to do. So you can make a preset off of these and save it and put it on here. But what I'm going to do is format, subtitle, style. I won't do a specific style here, but just for the sake of doing this one right here, let's put maximum length in characters that you want to see on screen, 25. Minimum duration, let's just put 2.2 seconds. No gaps in between the captions. And the lines, I don't want to do a double, so I just want to stay single. And you could also do transcription preferences, English language. No, don't separate the speakers and the audio analysis, the audio on the track. We have it on track one. So, and whatever, if you have multiple tracks and you want the captions to be on audio track 2, then you go ahead and put it right there. It's going to transcribe and create captions. And it doesn't take too long. Right there, creating auto transcription, transcribe on device. And it's going to make its own track right here. It's a caption track, and then you can see it right there. So if you look over here on the side, let me actually just do this real fast, kind of bring this. Actually, my logo's covering it, but you'll see it right there on the bottom of it right there. And if we want to change that, we just highlight all the captions, and we'll go to the properties panel, and then here you could change it to whatever font you want. So let's do a big ass new, and then we want everything caption, cool. Font size, let's bring it up a little bit more so we can see. Let's put it up to 75. You see it just grew right here in the top, 5 as well. And look, It's A cam track 1 and then B cam track 2 and then the A roll LUT on the. So see A roll, but it says arrow, and you could always kind of correct it there. But for right now, let's just stick to a global thing. And let's say we want to align it to right in the middle. But wait a minute, it's too much. Let's bring it down just a touch, and we want to put it right there above the logo. Dope. For right now, we'll just leave it in the bottom. And, you know, here we could give it a fill. The color, in other words, the color that we want the captions to be. We could put a shadow on there. We could put a stroke, a different color, whatever color you want. Let's say you want a black. I like to do it like that. Looks better in a white background or a color background. And there you fix them all globally, everything at the same time, right? And they're going to pop up just like so. Track 1 and then B cam track 2 and then the A roll LUT on the video track 3. And then I also have right here B-roll LUT on number 5, and all the B-roll is on 4. I put some of it 5 as well. I think I had to do some adjustments based on some of them were a little. So let's say, for example, that we want to change that. We don't want to add, they were a little bit too, and I wanted to change that. So I'll just go straight to the track and I'll change that up. Oh man, I wanted the number 2. So a bit number 2 and question mark. And then boom, that's it. That's all you got to do. Some of them were a little bit too low light, and then excellent. So now I'm going to show you what that looks like with the subtitles ready to go. So to look like that, you can see the subtitles are right there up front, right under my face under the mic, and it's going to look something like this. And changes, and I never had to start over. Between 1 and 2, I had 2 different cameras, so it's A cam track 1 and then B cam track 2 and then the A roll LUT. Dynamite. Fantastic. That's how you do those. So remember, captions aren't really an option anymore. If they can't hear you, they at least have to read you. So, you know, even if you're like speech is, you have a speech impediment, or you're just not legible, you can't understand what you're saying, the captions are the ones that are going to take advantage of that. All right. So use those to your advantage. All right, I think that's about it. I'm not going to do the export, because exporting vertical, unless you guys want to do that, I'll do it in a different video. I'm already 20 minutes in, 20 plus. And one thing I will do is I'll show you a little bit of a trick that I like to do in the beginning to kind of catch that initial attention. So besides the hook, I'll add a little kind of effect to really kind of just show you that I'm there. And I'll do the same thing on the outro or in the last part. So that way, if you're watching them back to back, it kind of almost does a loop right to the beginning, and I'll add a little bit of a sound effect to it. So you'll see something like this. This is the timeline that got me through. Boom. So if I mute my talking, this is what it's going to be like. Right? So it's that initial. So it's almost like a pop-up in there with a little bit of prism effect, and then the outro is going to be boom. So now if you're watching it, it'll be and then in the beginning. Super simple sound effect, simple little effect. I could go into details on that if you guys want at a later time. That's basically it, and I'll show you exactly what it is. This is the timeline that got me through like 3 or 4 rounds of client changes, and I never had to start over. Between 1 and 2, I had 2 different cameras, so it's A cam track 1 and then go all the way to the end. Look like when it's all completed. And that's it. You're finished. It's all done. Less is more. Use sound as a guide and to really spark things up. You don't want to overwhelm them, so don't use them too much, and don't use the effects too much. All right, man. That's pretty much it. Just remember, if you're editing vertical, don't export horizontal. So you want to keep it how they're watching it on their, on their phone, which is a vertical thing, and all these social media platforms, mostly vertical. So let me just give you a quick recap of everything that we did today. So we did the hook, we did the pacing. Let me do it again. Hook, pacing, captions, and final product right there. If you want to see the full reel that we just edited, I actually uploaded. I uploaded it probably like an hour ago, so you guys can watch that on all my social medias, and it's the same exact one. And make sure to watch for it. If you happen to cross by, just give it a like. Um, Follow me for more lives like this. I'll be on here tomorrow, and I'll only be here until Thursday doing a live because Friday I'm on the road. And that's it. And just remember, reels don't have to be perfect. They just have to be clear, tight, and above all, they have to be valuable. So I appreciate you guys